Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Hoops with Noops. Of course, I am Alex Noops Christensen, and I'm brought to you by the fine folks at FTN. If you haven't already, take a look at the banner scrolling down below and sign up for FTN. There's a little bit of discount code there for you to get access to all the great data, tools, content, picks, and of course, the Discord, which I mentioned several times. And I do because it's a great community. There's a lot of sharp bettors, not just experts that work for FTN, but also members of the community. Some really good conversations, extra bets being shared around there, access to all the guys to ask them questions about anything you might have for yourself. But if you already signed up, and I'm sure you are. And again, if not, take a look at that discount code below. Make sure that you're subscribed to this channel. A lot of great free content coming out here as well. And make sure you follow me on Twitter at _Noops, as well as all the FTN accounts to make sure you hear about the next time we do a playback stream. Playback is a really great app or website, if you will, that allows us to stream games, not only with us in the background talking and a nice chat going on so we can share live bets and things like that. We can actually help you watch the game. If you have League Pass or if you get in early enough to get a VIP pass, we can turn that on for you and you can actually watch the game through playback with us. It's a lot of fun. We have some great conversations. We cover not only the game we're watching, but extra things. And we're doing pretty well. I'm sure you're aware of how great Prop God is at all his live bets. We've been doing pretty good ourselves. Had a lot of fun last night. Hit Miles Turner to make 2+3s at halftime. That was a nice, I think like +250, almost +300 winner, as well as a bunch of Al Horford unders at plus money. It was a really good night for us. So check all that stuff out. But that's enough. We're here to talk about basketball finally. One game tonight. We're in the Western Conference Finals. Game 2 of the Dallas Mavericks series against the Minnesota Timberwolves. The T-Wolves still hosting tonight. They're 5.5-point favorites. The total is at 207.5. Game 1 was really interesting and showed us the value of the experience the Mavericks have. Kyrie Irving is an NBA champion, has won on several levels. Luka Doncic hasn't made the NBA Finals yet, but has made the conference finals, has won the EuroLeague championship, and has carried the Serbian national team for years. Both of those guys know what it takes to win basketball at its highest level and in tight spots. And we saw during that game, they were in total control. The game was very close from a margin perspective for the most part. Kyrie Irving scoring early, allowing Luka to save up energy to score late. And Luka did. He had 15 points in the fourth quarter. And again, as I said, even though the game was close, 3-4 points pretty much the whole time, it just felt like Dallas was in control while Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves were struggling to figure out what they wanted to do. Some really rough numbers for those guys in terms of plus minus. Edwards shot really poorly, probably his worst game of the postseason. Really tough for him. I expect him to bounce back tonight. And overall, again, a really good game. And I think what we're going to see from what I expect to be a long series, 6-7 games. The Timberwolves probably just a little hungover off that game 7. It's always tough for teams who had to play a game 7 coming into game 1, even though they are at home. So a lot to unpack there. And as we look at the line here for game 2, pretty much the same as what we saw game 1. The Timberwolves closed as 4.5-point favorites in game 1. The total was 207. Start with the total. It stayed pretty much the same, which makes sense. I mean, game 1 went over by 6 points. The pace was maybe a little faster than expected, but overall, the market did a good job on that total. And you can see, again, almost exactly the same number here. Now, the Timberwolves are just a 1-point difference from where game 1 closed, but Minnesota opened as 3.5-point favorites and have been bet out to 5.5 here. I think that really speaks to not only the hangover they kind of had coming into game 1, but also the fact that teams at home in game 2, after losing the first game, almost always win and generally do very well against the spread. It's just a much more important game for that home team. The road team has come in. They've won already. They've taken home court advantage. If they can somehow win tonight, that's unbelievable. They're in total control of the series, but they've already done what they've come to do. The home team, the Timberwolves in this case, this is pretty much a must-win game. It's going to be really tough for them to lose both of these games at home and then go to Dallas, win at least one of the next 2 games, if not both, to try to get control of things. So a lot of times you see not only is the team that won rest on their laurels a little bit, but they don't make many changes. There's not many adjustments. You just won. That kind of worked. Let's do that again. The team that loses not only knows that they're in a must-win situation, but has made some changes, has adjusted their scheme. I'm curious to see what Minnesota does a little differently to handle Kyrie and Luka being together. They've got to find some better ways to defend Luka. Really, it struggled. I mean, as good as Jaden McDaniels was, he really was not able to guard Luka. And although he had 24 points, some of the most one of the highest scoring games he's ever had, definitely in the playoffs. He was still a negative when he was on the floor. So tough situation for Minnesota. I do expect them to make the changes, and I like them here. I actually have them closer to 7, almost 7.5-point favorites, but I'm going to play them early in the game. I know Minnesota wasn't a great team against the spread in the first quarter of the season, but they've been good in the playoffs. They've won or covered most of the first quarters here throughout the first 2 rounds, won and covered the first quarter of game 1. Again, I expect them to come out, play really well. Dallas has been very slow to start games, not only in the regular season, but it's carried over into the playoffs, one of the worst first quarter teams. So I show some value on Minnesota. I think that this line particularly is at least a point, almost a point and a half too short, which is a pretty big edge for a first quarter. So give me the Minnesota Timberwolves -2 in the first frame tonight. Anything honestly -110 or better looks pretty good to me. But our friends at DraftKings offering it -110. Of course, if you haven't signed up for DraftKings, go over to FTN. There's a sign-up bonus you can get through there. Really nice way to get you started. Nice big deposit match bonus, basically, when you sign up through us. So go ahead and check that out. Really appreciate you watching. As always, subscribe to this channel. I would really appreciate a thumbs up, and put a comment down below if you have any thoughts, questions of your own, bets you want to share, really anything you want to talk about. Dump it in there below. Always happy to talk about hoops, and I'll be back on Monday with another edition of Hoops with Noops. Best of luck until then.